Welcome to another Apollo Papyrus podcast episode. I am Aaron Apollo Camp. For this episode, my interview guest is a former nun who became an end-of-life doula, and she is the author of the memoir, Shake the Dust Off Your Feet and Walk. Her name is Gina Economopoulous, and my interview with Gina will follow the note-taking sounds. Gina Economopoulous, welcome to the Apollo Papyrus podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Feel free to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gina Economopoulous. I'm a first-time author. I had published my memoir last summer, Shake the Dust Off Your Feet and Walk.
I have questions regarding your book, quite a few of them in this interview, but I'll start with a question about a couple of things you've been in addition to an author. You're a certified end-of-life doula, and at one time you were a nun. What is it like to be an end-of-life doula, and what was it like to be a nun?
Oh, well, being an end-of-life doula today, I truly enjoy. It's my passion. I love being present to those who are dying to help them transition from this life to the next. It's a non-medical, it's not a hospice. It's just something extra. It's an extra means with hospice care. Somebody may call up for my service to be with their loved one as they're passing, whether to sit by their bedside, hold their hand, say a prayer, whatever to give them that dignity and that respect to die. So being a end-of-life doula, I truly love. And the other question of being a sister, yes, I was a sister for 12 years in the South Bronx of New York, a Franciscan. And I did enjoy that, but then yet came with a lot of pain and sorrow and suffering where I ended up leaving, or I should say I got kicked out. And that's what my book is all about, of my journey from darkness to light. But I do have to say, when I was a sister, I was with many people who have passed away from all walks of life, from all denominations of faith, from young kids to the elderly, those on the streets. And I really enjoyed it. God gave me the gift to be with those who needed someone at that moment, whether it's to pray or to be with or to console the family or just to be present, and also not only I do reach out to those who are grieving as well, because I'm a very good griever, and through my own personal experience, I've been there.
As you mentioned, your memoir is titled Shake the Dust Off of Your Feet and Walk, and you've talked a little bit about it in this interview so far, but without spoiling too much of it, can you elaborate a little bit more on what it's about?
Yes, it's my personal story, my personal journey. It goes back to growing up in an Italian family, one of 8 kids. I'm from Long Island. It's about all the pain and the struggles. Just as a kid, I was born with a lot of physical problems. So with that, there were challenges in my life, and in that, I formed like this insecurity. So that's how my memoir starts off, and it's a continued journey of in my life at the time, that there was like a dark cloud. Like I was always, everything always happened to Gina. Everything always happened to Gina. And I did go to college. I graduated from college. Then I went to go live with my parents in Pennsylvania. I became a bartender, and I thought that was the meaning of life, is to have fun, to be around that kind of bar scene environment. My mom during that time was diagnosed with cancer, and she had died. So part of my book, the beginning of my first trauma in my life that I experienced loss, was through my mom's death and being there and taking care. And I didn't have any faith. I didn't have really a relationship with God in my life, so it was very difficult. And then my journey continues to searching for the meaning of life, and that's where I became I came back to my Catholic roots, and then I became a nun. So that's like half of my memoir. It talks about my journey of just my interior life of going through a lot of pain, suffering, loss, and even as a sister. I mean, I thought that was it. So part of my story I shared about my experience as a nun. There were good times, but there was a lot of pain and suffering. I had experienced rejection, betrayal. I was in a very dark time. And then I just continue. And so, shake the dust off your feet. I chose that title because, in hindsight, I just kept persevering. I kept searching, for that love. Where do I belong? That peace within. Even as a sister, I wasn't totally at peace within, even though I married God. And then my journey continued. After leaving the nunnery, I went to go live with men and women with disabilities. So there's part of that story in there too. And that to me was a transition time because I didn't know how to live life at the time. I was in my 40s, and I was in the late 2000 because I lived a very austere life as a sister, which meant I slept on the floor. I didn't have rugs, all that material thing. So when I came back into the world, so to speak, because I was a nun for 12 years, that it was a shock to me. So I had to relearn, and I continue to shake the dust off my feet. And as I continue to shake and heal because I was so broken from my experience as a nun in the community that I ended up coming to the Jersey Shore, to the beach, and that's where I experienced some peace. And so, but I'm still searching. My life is about searching, and then I went back to bartending. I went back to bartending. So my memoir continues. It doesn't end there. I always feel like it ends there because when I bartended, I met a guy, Danny. So I'm saying, okay, my life has ended. This is it. Finally find the man that I love, and we could live happily ever after because that's what I was searching for. I'm in my late 40s now, and but yet he was an alcoholic. Come to find that out, and ultimately, make a real long story short, he died from the disease back in 2013. So my journey continued. That my journey kind of ended right there of in a way that I kind of gave up on life. I was tired of life. I lost Danny. I lost his mom too, and within months. And this is all in my book. It's all in my memoir. And but at that point, when Danny died, it was 12 years ago that I didn't want to live anymore. I thought my purpose was to suffer and to be in pain. And so from then I kept moving forward because I am here today that because after Danny's death, I was searching. I did explore my own disease of alcoholism. I went into the rooms of AA just to really to do some research why these people are sober and Danny died from this disease. And ultimately, I joined the club, so to speak. God willing, in April, I will have 10 years of sobriety. And so the last 10 years it's been a road of journey coming out of that pit of hell, that dark spot. So that's what my memoir is all about. I kept shaking the dust off my feet and I kept walking. And I'm here to tell anyone and everyone that there is hope and that there is strength within each one of us, whether we know it or not, that there is a higher power within us. Could be God, it could be the ocean, it could be something that gets us through. I have learned a lot in my life, and today, not only that I'm sober, but I'm a faithful woman of God, and I'm happy, joyous, and free within my heart. And that's what I learned, Aaron, that there was a point where I was in prison in my own heart, mind, and soul. And now, today, through working the steps and just one day at a time, and through a lot of more healing, that it's an inside job that I'm free on inside where I'm able to love and be loved and to support. And that's what my book is all about. That's what I wrote. I was inspired to write it. My I wrote it the first time. I wrote down all my pain after Danny died, and that was 12 years ago. And I kept writing. I wrote about 186 pages, and it was just all on it was Danny's death, and then a lot of the pain from the sisterhood came up. And I never told anyone because I was a great person throughout my life that smiled and said everything is fine. But meanwhile, I was broken on the inside. And then recently, a few years ago, a friend of mine saw those 186 pages and said, well, you got to write now. We got to publish this. We got to tell people that there is hope out there and that you can get through anything. And that's where I am today. And that was in a nutshell about my story.
How did your recovery from alcoholism, as well as emotional trauma you've faced from the deaths of your mother, fiance, and employer, the latter of whom I believe was murdered,
Yeah.
influence how you wrote your book?
Yes, that's correct. I forgot about the murder. Yes, my employee way before I even joined the nunnery. After my mom's death, I worked with a couple and they were murdered. And yes, that is my chapter 3. That's in my book, and that was a trauma. I was like, because they thought I did it. I was a suspect, I should say. And but meanwhile, at that time, my mindset, I was in this God mode, and I'm like, oh no, I didn't do it because God's on my side. So yes, I all this has formed me. Every pain, every avenue, every path, every chapter I went through, the good, the bad, and the ugly. They say is the person who I am. Yes, it has formed me today. Where today I'm able to live life on life's terms. I'm able to say no to things that may harm me. I don't. I am a people pleaser, but I don't need to be today. And I've just learned a lot of tools to be emotional sober, to handle life on life's terms without picking up or without going into that on that couch, that self-pity couch, because the alcohol and the self on the couch was my like my best friend during all those the trauma in the past. But today I avoid those those triggers and everything like that because I have the tools today to help me get through just for today, not to pick up and not to be an emotional wreck.
How long did it take you to write Shake the Dust Off Your Feet and Walk?
Well, it took me the segment of the pain and the suffering that I did that about 12 years ago. I put that aside, and then maybe it was 2 years ago that I wrote where I was today about my recovery. And then a friend of mine helped me. We put it together. And then last year found a publisher. I did a lot of research about publishing, and then it was published last August. So after I guess 12 years, I would say 12 years ago when I had when I came out of the sisterhood where I was very broken, people said you should write a book. And I said, well, if I did write a book now, it would be full of anger because I was filled of anger, resentment, hurt, pain, etc. And I couldn't write it from there. And then, of course, when Danny died, I was depleted. I was like, no, it's good chapters to my book, but that's it. I didn't realize that there was going to be a light at the end of my tunnel to write this book. I'm not, it wasn't something that I wanted to write when I was young. It wasn't like I wanted to be an author, but I felt, and through the encouragement of friends, said, oh, you should write and publish this book. And we did. It was last August that I had published my memoir. So
What was the writing process for writing a memoir like for you?
healing. Very much healing because it was all through journaling. It was from my heart. I wrote this book. I published it, yes, to help someone out there to to share that message of hope and strength. But I really wrote it for myself, Aaron, for that. I don't want to say final healing, but it's a great healing process for me. And it was all about journaling because it's my story, it's my memoir. So I wrote out all the pain, everything, everything. And I mean, there's some stuff I didn't add into it, but once you get it on paper and you look at it, that's where healing could take place. So, yes, this book has been a great gift for me, for myself, for me for my own personal journey and healing as well as strengthening in who I am today.
Is your memoir independently, traditionally, or hybrid published?
It is it's self-published, not high, it's self-published. I had someone to help me publish it, a publisher. I'm still new at this, Aaron, because remember I was a Catholic nun, so I was last year we had done some research on hybrid. I didn't go traditional, but I did hybrid and self-publishing, and I chose the self-publisher to help me self-publish the book. I'm still learning, and now I'm learning to market it.
As you grew up in a large family, how did your relationships with your siblings and parents influence your journey through all kinds of adversity you faced?
Unconditional love. They were always there for me. My parents were always there. Like I shared, like all of my adversity was a lot of my physical problems as a child. I was born with a lot of physical problems, but yet my parents were there loving me. I was there not loving myself because my siblings, I compared myself to the siblings because they were athletic and beautiful, and I looked at myself, but yet there was such love there. They carried me through. I can't explain it. I do thank God for my parents. I thank God for my family because I was such in a low spot within myself, insecurity, that if I didn't have loving parents, then I don't know where I would be today. But they kept me going, and plus I kept smiling. I was a smiler, people pleaser. So I just kept smiling, like, I know everything is fine. No, everything is fine. So there was a point as a child, I was used to the physical problems. I was used to like, okay, if anything bad's gonna happen, it'll happen to me. I was used to it. I became used to, yeah, I'll take it on. I'll take the pain and suffering. And I took that with me throughout college, throughout sisterhood. I took it with me. Like that notion of that black cloud, yeah, and a why me, like why? Because I felt like everything always happened to Gina. But they were there loving me through it all. My parents were there every step of the way.
Looking back on your personal journey, what are some of the most important lessons you've learned about life?
Wow. The most important thing that I learned is that I found Gina, that I learned about myself and that I could be loved. I could love Gina. I could be happy. I could be free within. I could have boundaries. Like all this I've learned, which make there's peace in my heart today, Aaron. There's like love in my heart where I never had it really in my heart. Even as a sister, I told everyone God loves them, God loves me. And at the time, that's where my mind and heart was at. But today, knowing that I'm an alcoholic, and but yet I'm in a recovery program, I broke down that barrier, like all those lies that, unlovable. I was paralyzed with fear. Oh boy, fear like just paralyzed me, and just being in the rooms and realizing who I was. Wow, I'm an alcoholic. Doesn't, but yet I don't have to pick up a drink, and yet I have a recovery program. And in that, I was able to go back to my relationship with God, like, because I was angry with him. Aaron, I was very angry. I hated God at a point, and I share that in my story. I mean, this was after a sister. I was just very disappointed and I couldn't understand, but now I do understand. And it's just one day at a time. It's just through prayer and through my relationship that I'm able to be set free and to share that with others, to be there with, to truly be present to others.
As you continue your personal journey through life, what are your hopes and goals for the future, both for yourself and in regards to helping others?
Well, my goal is to continue to stay sober one day at a time. My goal is to take my memoir and spread it out to have to spread that message of hope and strength and faith, and that there is healing. Um, Being with those who are dying that God puts in my life. Continue to live an ordinary life, but extraordinary because I'm just I'm very at peace with myself. I'm very much at peace. Yeah, and yes, I have goals. My passion, Aaron, in my heart is to share my story to whoever that God puts in front. It could be churches, it could be whatever, because I know I have a story and it's God's story, and it's something that I would love to help others and share others to say, hey, you're not alone. Do not be discouraged, and to hold if they need to hold their hand or whatever it may be. So yeah, I just that is my hope, my goal, my wish in my life and my journey is to continue to be strong, to continue to change and grow. That's all about change and grow in my life, and be able to be there and help others and to encourage others, saying that you're not alone, that there is a life, that there is a story that God has for you.
One final question. What is the best advice you could offer to someone who is struggling with emotional trauma from the loss of loved ones?
Wow. My best advice, I would say, is to keep feeling, and it's okay to feel. And also, there's such resources out there to help, like grief groups, support groups to help, that you're not alone. Do not be discouraged. And also journaling it out. I'm angry because of A, B, C, D. This is what happened to me. Um, but I always realized, and I do share this with those who are grieving, that it's okay. It's okay if you feel. If you want to feel sad today, feel sad. If you want to feel angry today, feel angry. Don't let anyone tell you how to feel, where to feel, and when to feel. If you don't want to go out that night, don't go out. Just keep feeling, and I do encourage, if they have a higher power or God or faith or something, just turn to them. This is how I feel, because I know there's something greater than you and I, than anyone, that helps us through, that comforts us, whether we feel it or not. Like that peace feeling, just keep feeling what you are feeling at that moment, and it's okay. And I have also learned in my own life that if you're afraid or anything, just spit it out. Just say, hey, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid to be alone. Or I'm angry at so and so because he died. I'm angry at this one. If we share it out loud, whether it's to someone or maybe a counselor or a group or a good friend, or even to yourself in your bedroom, it's out in the open. And that's where our a higher power could start healing. So.
Gina, thank you for appearing on the Apollo Papyrus podcast. You were a wonderful guest to interview.
Thank you, Aaron. You're a wonderful host, and thank you for your service and what you do for your listeners and for everyone. I mean, that's great. I appreciate it.
It was fascinating and insightful to interview Gina about her memoir, and once again, I thank her for appearing on this podcast. This is Aaron Apollo Camp reminding y'all to find your writing and reading purpose. Bye for now. Copyright 2025, Aaron Apollo Camp, all rights reserved. This podcast episode is intended for the private listening of our audience. Any reuse or retransmission of this podcast episode without the express written consent of the podcast host is prohibited except under fair use guidelines. Royalty-free music and sound effects obtained from https://www.zapsplat.com.